USS Hampton and Harris with Bobby Roquemore, where the world of sports meets the mic and the hammer of the law.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Hampton and Harris with Bobby Roquemore. I'm Rickey Hampton. My great friend John Harris. Hope everybody out there staying warm. We got big storms coming everywhere this weekend, JD. So y'all snuggle up out there and be safe. We got a great show planned tonight. We're going to be joined by our friend Don Edmonds, who's probably still partying, JD, after IU captured the Nationals Monday night. Yeah. So we'll forgive Don for being a little late getting there tonight.
Well, I'm ready. I'm wearing red in honor of IU, and I got my Steelers cap on, recognizing Mike Tomlin stepping down after 19 years. So I'm just trying to be all man for all seasons.
Absolutely, man. What a run! 19 years. We talked about a little bit last week, and I think the Steelers fans better be careful about what they wish for whoever steps in, and if they don't bring that type of stability to that franchise, it's going to be some regrets. But JD, I get it. 19 years in pro sports, that's a long time in pro sports.
Yeah.
So I can see him on the change, and I see him coaching again. Also.
Yeah. Oh, it was time. I mean, I think he recognized it was time. 53. He could take a year or two, recharge his batteries, do TV, not do TV, just relax, chill with the family. And his stock will rise again because now he's like the backup quarterback. Everybody loves the backup quarterback, right? Until he gets in the game. He's the guy that everybody's going to want. Hey, Mike Tomlin's out there. He's the best candidate.
And that's so true. And, I got my copy of Tomlin. I don't have the newest edition. And you're going to have to write a new edition, JD, with all this Tomlin news going around.
Here's the new edition. I never traveled without it.
Yeah. Don't leave home without it.
With the red dot.
With the red dot. I got to get my red dot.
Yeah.
Hey, but JD, you know what? You said something really interesting, man. And welcome to our viewers out there, by the way. I'm sorry. Should have welcomed you guys in first here on Sports Fluent. Send you some questions and comments. If you're new to the show, I'm Rickey Hampton, and that's John Harris, two longtime sports writers and author. John is the author of Tomlin, the Soul of a Football Coach, and he has a new edition coming out. We'll talk a little bit more about that before the show goes on tonight. But do you remember when his predecessor left? Yeah. Every time a job came up, and I don't know why. What was his predecessor's name?
Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher.
Yeah.
The first 5 years, every time a job, well, maybe Bill will come out for this one. Maybe Bill will come. That's what the case for.
It was, and everybody just swore he was going to go back. He never did.
Yeah. So, the brother is in good stead. A great run, and salute to him. And all you got to do is read some of the comments by some of his former players to the respect he had for them. I saw a couple of things, guys hitting on it, but you coach 53 men, you're going to make some folks mad and not going to be happy with you. You want to five guys who are mad, ask the 5 guys not starting on their basketball team. Everybody not playing is mad. But the respect he had from his players and fellow coaches was really extraordinary.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh, the stories are continuing to be told now. Players are coming out. I know Adam Thielen, who had just joined the team, a veteran receiver, who this was his last year. He had played with Minnesota, then he asked to be let go so he could go to a team with a chance for the playoffs. He went to the Steelers, so he wasn't there very long, but he kind of described what it was like, Tomlin's first or last talk to the team. He said he started out just talking about, hey, it just didn't work out. Blah, blah, blah. Then he apologized to the team. Basically, this is on me. I didn't do enough to get it done. He went on, and then he threw the bombshell at him and told him, I'm going to step down. And apparently that's why the players were really emotional. They didn't know because he didn't, he just had a regular conversation like he usually did. And he just popped it in at the end. And so a lot of them are really surprised and shocked. But yeah, he had ultimate respect from the players, the guys that played for him. Some people might say, well, if they respected him so much, why didn't they play better? But that's neither here nor there. All 19 years, even his first year when he got there, 34 years old and a bunch of veterans, he earned their respect. And they weren't all in love with him at the beginning.
And JD, it was a flawed team, man. You got a 42-year-old quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
The Hall of Famer one day. The team was flawed. And he got a lot out of that roster to get to the playoffs. What are they? They won 10 games, right?
Yeah, 10-7. 10-7 last year, 10-7 this year.
Yeah.
Made the playoffs both times, but lost in the first round. Both times, I don't think it add up to the final scores of both games, but they were kind of blown out in both games, and that's what was setting off the Steeler fans. They're beyond spoiled. 10-7 is not good enough for them, even though there's a lot of teams in the NFL that would take that in a heartbeat. They're looking at the first round exits in the playoffs, and that's fans were cheering. Some fans wanted Steelers to lose that playoff game because they thought that would mean that Tomlin, would be let go. He was going to come back. The team had every intention to bring him back.
Right.
He made the decision. I'm done. I'm ready to go.
I don't get why you cheer for your team to lose a game, but anyway, we'll get back to some NFL when our other guests join us. But I want to get to the NBA. We got to go over our 10-Dex updates. We had the All-Stars were named the other day. I still don't know how the game's going to be played, JD. But the All-Star team was named. Let me see if I can find all these guys. I know in the East, Kay Cunningham out of Detroit. Kay's had a terrific year, and the Pistons have had a terrific
well-deserved.
Yeah,
well-deserved.
Absolutely well-deserved. I'm going to see if I can get all the rosters here. I should have had that together. The big news in the West, I guess, is LeBron James did not make the All-Star team. And I don't know why anybody thought he would. I'm sure he'll get an invite to the game. Just out of respect to the body of work that he's put in over the years. Let's see. The Joker is part of NBA.
Yeah, I don't know if the Joker's going to. Is he still? I don't know if he's back yet from his injury.
No, I meant who was named to the Yeah,
I mean, I don't know if is he back yet? I think he's still out. He may not be able to play in the game. Is what I'm saying, because of his injury.
Yeah.
He might want to sit him out. So at the end of the day, LeBron may end up in the starting lineup somehow. Some players may step down. Somebody may be injured. So I've seen this happen. You've seen it happen in sports before, where provisions are made.
Yeah, I have no problem with that either, man. Because the All-Star game is not what it used to be. Yeah. It used to be a really good game. But here's the lineup. Game. Yeah. Here's the lineup, JD. Giannis from Milwaukee, Jaylen Brown, Celtics, Jalen Brunson, New York, Kay Cunningham, Detroit, Tyrese Maxey, Philly, the West team, Stephen Curry from the Warriors, Luka Doncic from the Lakers, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Oklahoma City, the Joker from Denver, and Victor Wembanyama from the San Antonio Spurs.
A lot of
And
talent out there. A lot of
yeah,
talent.
and the way the game's going to be set up, it's going to be a world team, and there are going to be 2 or 3 different games played. The actual All-Star game will, in fact, be 4 separate games, each totaling 12 minutes. The first 3 give each team the opportunity to play each other, and at the end of those 3 games, the 2 teams with the best records will meet in a final 12-minute game to determine the All-Star champion. Okay.
Interesting.
Why don't y'all just play hard for about 48 minutes? We ain't got to do all this.
No, I'll take 24 minutes.
Yeah.
Play hard for 24 minutes. Can you do that? I'll take 24, dog. I'll take 24 minutes.
Hey, but JD, we're now at the halfway mark of the season, and I'm going to throw these 10 decks ratings up here in a couple of minutes. But just your thoughts on what you've seen so far. Has anything surprised you about the season as we hit the halfway mark?
I would say looking at the ratings and looking at the teams, to me the 2 teams that stand out, to be honest with you, are Detroit and Boston. Detroit, young team, seemed like they had turned the corner last year. Barely, almost beat the Knicks in the playoffs. People are still kind of skeptical. Hey, they're kind of young. I tell you, they've from the beginning of the season, they've just taken charge, shown themselves to be worthy. And they're slowly getting, looking at Tendex, the ratings slowly, gradually getting better as the season goes on. I like them a lot. Nobody really knows anything about them, right? You don't really see them on TV,
right?
Which can be a problem. And I like, to me, they've been somewhat of a surprise, a pleasant surprise. And Boston, which at the beginning of the year was way back in the pack, and losing one of their top players, people just kind of saw this as a throwaway year. But led by Jaylen Brown, they're just slowly climbing. And according to Tendex this week, they've even passed the Knicks. A point better than the Knicks this week, which is interesting. Much credit to Joe Mazzulla, their coach. They're keeping an eye on the prize.
And JD, to our new viewers, we get new viewers every week here on Hampton and Harris. Explain Tendex and your long time history of Tendex, and why you've always found it a go-to source because the consistency it has shown throughout the years.
Yeah, Tendex is a point per minute rating system developed by mathematician Dave Heron, a great friend of mine, probably about 50 years ago now. And what it does is it compiles each team's statistics and it matches that with their opponent's statistics. So you're taking all your positives, your points, your rebounds, assists. You take all your negatives, your missed shots, missed free throws, turnovers. You throw it in a hopper and mix it all up. You have something called game pace. Each team has a different game pace, and you come up with the rating. And it's pure numbers. And I've just found it through the years. When I covered the NBA, when I covered the Detroit Pistons or Orlando Magic, I found it to be incredibly accurate. I used it to help me with my coverage. And it's just, I like it because I can still have my opinion, but Tendex gives me that little extra boost. I can back up now some of my opinion with facts. And I've also learned to just kind of not be swayed by the crowd. Sometimes people go with the popular name, the popular player, the popular team. And, sometimes Tendex just tells you, hey, over the course of a season of these 82 games, it will tell us who, the best team was. Early last year, Tendex told me that Oklahoma City was the best team by a landslide. And I really hadn't paid much attention to them. And it turns out it was accurate. Coming into this season, Oklahoma City still has the best rating in the NBA, by a sizable margin. But I'll tell you what, Detroit is slowly closing that gap as far as the rating is concerned, which, I take my hat off to them. They've done a really, really good job, Coach Bickerstaff has really
He's
taken
good.
that franchise to another level.
Hey, but JD, I tell you what, and Tindex has really, I have to say, put him on blast because everybody was looking at Cleveland's just going to run away with this thing with Boston and hurt and the Pistons being so young, but even before Cleveland we know what's going on. Tindex spotted that earlier than most people because they have not had the kind of rating you think Cleveland would have with that roster.
Their rating last year this time was similar to what Oklahoma City's is right now. I mean, they've dropped considerably, over 10 points, which is a lot. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why it's happened that way, but maybe Ms. Rockamore could probably tell us a little bit about the Cavs.
You got it just in time, Bobby.
Yeah. Right, perfect timing.
Talk about the Eastern Conference or what exactly? First of all, hello everyone. I'm Bobby Rockmore.
Hey, Bobby.
What was the topic again about the Eastern Conference basketball?
Right now,
Why Cleveland? Everybody picked Cleveland to kind of dominate the East this year, with Boston being hurt, the Pistons being so young, and really nobody else to maybe Orlando. But Cleveland just hadn't been able to kind of find it. What have you seen?
Yeah, so far, I don't think we anticipated, as in or the Cleveland Cavaliers anticipated how much Sam Merrill's injury would be, a factor. And Darius Garland has been injured off and on. I mean, we've learned a lot about the big toe, from everybody from Deion Sanders, back when he had turf toe, and sadly, I think one of the toes got cut. I mean, so this is a serious thing. So I guess now Darius's other toe is hurt, and again, Sam Merrill's having problems coming back. Evan Mobley, who won Defensive Player of the Year, he was expected to kind of take a leap offensively, but that still hasn't happened yet. And part of it too is that I guess the regular season, a lot was put into it these last couple of years, and so I guess the Cavs think maybe they could sleepwalk through and then show up at the end and see how they're doing after the All-Star game. Case in point, Indiana. Last year, Indiana was kind of average, and then they really took off after the All-Star break, and then took off all the way into the NBA Finals. So I think the Cavs are just trying to find their way in the East. And shout out to JB Bickerstaff. I mean, he has that Detroit team playing. I can name like one other player besides Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. And shout out to Jaylen Brown. He's really stepped up, in a way that maybe we didn't know he had it in him.
And to Bobby's point, teams I don't know if anybody's trying to lay back, but with all props to my Pistons, they ain't scared nobody going into the playoffs because people still gonna look at them as a young team. And as Bobby said, nobody's gonna know anybody but Cade Cunningham, although they're gonna find out about Jalen Durham and some of them younger forwards they have. But they won't scare anybody going into the playoffs. So maybe Cleveland can turn it on.
Yeah, I think that's what the philosophy is. And then again, just DeAndre Hunter, maybe not having his best friend around Virginia, Ty Jerome, maybe that's affected him. He's kind of been a disappointment this year. He was expected to kind of be the 6-7. But we have I remember the second round pick from Duke. Pardon me for not knowing his full name exactly. But he has really been a pleasant surprise. But is it Tyreek? I'd have to look that up. But, every time I hear his name, it's like, oh, yeah. It's just one of those afterthoughts that I remember us getting. And then it was like, oh, okay, he's kind of turned out to be pretty good. in a way that second round picks usually don't really be that much. Don't really contribute that much early on.
Well, JD, Bobby brought up the way Indiana surged last year, but does Tindex really see that? How many times does that happen? That doesn't happen very often, I'm sure.
John, you're looking at John, what John is saying about Tindex.
I think we lost JD.
Okay. Well, anyway, I was going to say Tyrese Maxey, and I knew that wasn't it. Tyrese Proctor.
Okay.
That's the gentleman who we picked. He's really been great off the bench. That's been a pleasant surprise. The trade for Lonzo Ball, just still isn't back to the way we used to remember him as. And so he's kind of been a do not play coach's decision lately. So the Cavs are just kind of trying to find their way back to what they were, because they just kind of took everybody by storm last year, but it ended up the same way that they ended before, second round of the playoffs.
Yeah. But what you said, though, I mean, Indiana gives everybody hope, because I'm looking at this, the 76ers, they got some very capable players on that roster. If that we got JD back.
Hey, I don't know I thought I paid my internet bill. I don't know.
We got this weather. It's so cold here. I thought my computer was gonna freeze up. Literally, it's so cold. But we were talking about teams being able to turn the season around like Indy did last year, JD. And then after this, I want to get over to the Western Conference. I mentioned the Sixers. They have a great center when he's there, and Tyrese Maxey and some good players. Your thoughts on Philly and Orlando's kind of young too, but a lot of talent.
I had a question for Bobby about Bickerstaff. I mean, it was ironic that he was fired and goes to what was the thoughts? What were your thoughts? What are people in Cleveland's thoughts about that transaction, the coaching transaction? It looks like he's just going on to bigger and better things. What was happening in Cleveland? He had some good teams in Cleveland, right?
Yeah, and hey, shout out, as I've always said, to Dan Gilbert for sticking with him. JB, we all know the pedigree. His father, Bernie Bickerstaff, but for whatever reason, he really couldn't catch on. But Dan Gilbert gave him a shot, started out as the interim, stuck with him, and he's developed into a great coach. I think it was just a matter of thinking that someone more offensive-minded could get the Cavs past that second round of the playoffs, where the Cavs had been for 2 years straight under Bickerstaff, and then maybe, wanting to free up Donovan Mitchell more and, offensively. And so it was more of a mutual parting of way, kind of thing. It was, it was like best of luck, JB, kind of thing. Almost like, like there just wasn't those bitter feelings. And as soon as he got with Detroit, I said they're going to be good because they're young and they want to learn how to win, as opposed to the Cavs had a little more experience and just wanted to break open more offensively. That happened last year, of course, under Kenny Atkinson, Coach of the Year. But guess who was second? JB Bickerstaff, in the Coach of the Year voting. So actually that makes Dan Gilbert look really good. To be able to kind of pick him like that. So we're all happy for JB. We're happy to see him do well with the type of players that he has, and be able to mold those young players and get Detroit basketball back on the map.
Yeah, a good coach. What the Pistons do, they play. I mean, as JD knows well. The great Detroit teams play physical basketball, defensive-minded, and they fall right in line with that. With Thompson and Ron Holland on the wings, and Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart inside, and even Kay Cunningham has become a good defender. And JD has those guys going. people talk about them needing to add a shooter, and we'll see when the playoffs come. Because I think they like the chemistry, and I don't think they're going to try to. I mean, you never know, but I don't think they want to mess up the chemistry there. The one guy they had that could be expendable is Jaden Ivey, who was playing great last year until he broke his leg, and now he doesn't really fit into the offense because they've gone without him, and they have 1 through 4 shooter, which is Duncan Robinson. So it'd be interesting to see if the Pistons pull a trade off. Will Cleveland do anything? We got I think the trade deadline's a couple of weeks away. Any final thoughts on the East before we go west?
I would say I watched the game the other night when Miami beat Oklahoma City, and it was a fascinating game. Miami was in that game was incredibly aggressive and physical, and they out-scrapped Oklahoma City. It was a good game. I don't know if they're capable of doing that, over the second half of the season. But I will say this: if they get in the playoffs, they're like a dangerous first-round opponent. They just play with this style. And I had seen – that was the first time I saw them play all year. And it just stood out to me that there could be a dangerous team in a first-round opponent that's not ready for them because they're not going to have the greatest record, but they play extremely well and very, very hard.
Right. Yeah. Eric Spoelstra. I mean, that's I mean, as long as he's around, they're a threat.
They have a culture and an expectation and a standard. My man Mike Tomlin always talks about play the standard. That's what they do. That's what they do down in Miami. But when you look at the best team in the NBA, still the Oklahoma City Thunder are there, sit atop that mountain. And Tindex has them at 112, where I think the Pistons are 108. They're still, or maybe 107, maybe 5 points ahead of Detroit, which is still a pretty wide margin, JD.
Yeah, they hit a lull. They lost 3 times to San Antonio. Lost some other games. Lost to Charlotte, I think. Lost some games that they were winning, and obviously all of a sudden everybody jumped off. They're done. And it's a long season. And I will say this: even the game last night against Milwaukee, they had about 4 or 5 guys that were out that didn't play. I think. Bobby, the other night when they beat Cleveland, they had several starters out. They've had a lot of injuries, but they're so deep. They were able to just continue and play with that same style. I think that's maybe what separates them from a lot of teams. They have a lot of good players.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, Oklahoma City, and be it living in Houston, obviously I get to see a lot of Western Conference games, a lot of Western Conference competition. And so, just whenever I see them, it's just like, wow. But it's been interesting to see those games with San Antonio, how San Antonio had their number. So at the same time, at least it keeps it interesting that, yes, they have this great record, but nothing's going to be easy coming out of the West.
I mean, San Antonio's a bad matchup for Oklahoma City, but they still have some growing up to do because after they won those games, they started losing games to teams that they shouldn't have lost to. So they're still young, but they're a scary team. And in the playoffs, they could beat anybody.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I think the playoffs are going to be really fantastic this year. But Bobby, I did want to ask you about the Rockets. You see them quite a bit. They are number 2 in the West in the Tindex ratings at 106.4. What do you like about them? What are your concerns about them?
Right. I mean, I must admit, when Van Vliet got injured, I was, oh, dang, that's messed up. That's too bad. And they just keep going and keep rolling. Again, San Antonio almost got them, I want to say, the other day. They have their ways, but, the KD situation has really worked out. I think his name is Amin Thompson or something like that. He's been doing well. So, whenever I catch them on local TV or whatever, it's like, okay, what's going on with them? And they just seem really in control. And coaching does matter in the NBA. Is more than just, in college sports or whatever where coaches matter. But, the coach here is Emory, he's really turned that team around, Udoka. He's a really good coach, and they just play very well, and they are definitely a threat in the Western Conference to Oklahoma City supremacy.
And JD, has Minnesota moved up in their Tindex rating? As I say,
don't sleep on them. They're and Edwards is playing. He's having a fabulous year, quietly fabulous, and he's starting to mature more in that role, more of a leadership, taking him on the shoulders. That's what everybody said. He can do it all. He got incredible dunks, but can he be a leader? Can he carry the team? He's been doing that. I'd say in the playoffs, don't sleep on them. They're very talented, playoff tested, and you got a superstar in Edwards. They could win the West. Houston could win the West. Oklahoma City, San Antonio. This in Denver, if they get Jokic back, you're talking about 5 teams at least that could win the West and get out there and go to the finals. That's a scary deep. They're scary deep that conference.
Golden State, they just lost Jimmy Butler. They're currently in the 8th spot. And they were just starting to improve. In the last few weeks over Tindex, their rating is going up. So that's the injury at the worst possible time for them. Yeah. And you had an interesting fact about the Lakers, who've actually played worse since LeBron James came back.
According to the rating.
Join the team. Record. Yeah, their rating has gone down. After their first 15 games playing without injured LeBron James, the Lakers had a 102 rating. After 42 games, the Lakers rating has fallen to 99.3. Now they've had some.
It's actually lower than that. If you factor in what it was before and after, it's actually lower than 99.3. How they played since he's been back. I don't know whether it's chemistry or whatever, but the one thing they don't play defense. Whether LeBron's playing in there or whether he's not, they just do not play.
They don't guard you, man. They really don't.
They do not play defense.
Yeah, and they've had Austin Reeves has been out for a while too.
He's been out. Yeah,
that's just seems to be a bad mix that they have there. But they're hanging in there. They had a good start. I think they are currently in the.
Record-wise, they're right in the mix. I think their record is almost as their record is right up there as far as the West is concerned. Remember, I tell the people that are watching, our listeners, this is just their rating. This is not standings. This is just their team ratings.
Right. And I was just about to say, oh my goodness, where did Phoenix come from? What? I forgot the Durant trade was Jalen Green. I was like, where did they come back from, or what's going on with them? And of course, Devin Booker's there, but obviously that's been a huge addition for them.
They're scary
back in the conversation above the Lakers and Tindex.
Yeah.
There's going to be some very disappointed teams going home after the first round, because I think we're going to see some upsets for these higher seeds losing to lower seeds in the first round, because there's some teams like Minnesota and Phoenix out there. Golden State is really going to be hurt by the loss of Jimmy Butler, as I mentioned earlier. Maybe they'll figure out something with Kuminga, or maybe they'll try to make a deal or something. We'll see that in a couple of weeks as the trade deadline approaches.
Right. Yeah. So like you said, it's been more interesting. People tend to not pay as much attention to the NBA during the regular season. Especially with football going on, and now the college football playoffs are dragging out until the end of January, and the NBA kind of gets Christmas and then kind of goes back into a corner. But like I said, I've been keeping my eye on things, and sometimes, like I said, the TV watches me. I'm not just watching the TV and watching speed. It just gotta be on, and I just kind of see stuff and like, oh, okay, So it's been some interesting storylines so far.
But
Shea Gilgeous in Oklahoma City. I mean, I think he's 6 or 7 games away from breaking or tying Wilt Chamberlain's record of 123, 124 consecutive games with 20. I mean, if you watch one of their games, I mean, he makes 20 points like a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just does. Yeah, he's got it calculated how many free throws he's going to get, how many jumpers he needs to take. It's like clockwork, and I think maybe that's why fans are not really that excited about him, because this game it's not mechanical, but it's not flashy either.
Right, and it's just highly efficient.
Yes. Yeah.
But I was just going to say, I don't think the national media really cares much for OKC. They don't believe Detroit's that good. They want to talk about the Warriors. They want to talk about the Lakers and LeBron, and of course the Knicks. And all three of those teams, man, are got their problems. So these guys going to have to find something else to talk about at some point.
TV wants the Knicks and Lakers in the finals. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. But at least this new TV deal or whatever, even though sometimes I can't find the game. I remember, because I guess they got Prime Video involved now. I was just like, where's the game? And, I don't know what's going on. But at least they're more, what do I want to say, democratic versus the NBA, then the NFL, who puts on Washington 8 times, doesn't flex the game. I'm talking about the Washington Commanders, even when they weren't good anymore. It's like, I thought that was the whole point of flexing games. The NBA seems to have a variety of good games and good teams, and you get to see everybody at some point in a national game, and that, to me, that's healthy.
Hey, here's
apparently,
I'm sorry, Dave.
Apparently, ESPN is treating, one of the reasons why I used to watch was the studio with Kenny and Charles and Shaq. Apparently people are having trouble finding them. I think they're almost treating them like, what record companies would do. They'd sign somebody and then stick them over in the corner and to kind of get rid of them. Why would you do that with these guys? Like, they're not on like they used to be. And a lot of people are complaining about it, that they don't see them that much anymore. It's like ESPN is more than content to do it this way, that they're like de-emphasizing them.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess with the NBC, for whatever reason, I seem to stumble into that game. Maybe because the TV was still on from Sunday Night Football. Again, it just kind of keeps going and going. And next thing it's like, oh, wow, okay, here goes some NBA, games, coming on. And so, but like I said, I was just surprised to see a nationally televised Minnesota versus somebody, just random teams. They show the Cavaliers, on Christmas. They, so I appreciate what the NBA does compared to some other leagues, and baseball does that too. They always show love to, Cleveland and stuff like that. But just compared to other league. But but so anyway, I just
other league. By the way, that's gonna be our next conversation about after basketball. And speaking of Prime, on my Prime now is the Warriors and the Mavericks are playing. Hey, JD, before we go, have you gotten into your individual rankings of players?
I keep saying I'm going to do that. I promise next week I will. Okay. I will get into it. And I'm going to wait a little bit longer, but we need to get into the college ratings too, men and women. We're getting close. The closer we get to the tournament season, I'm going to really jump on that. We'll have our Tendex predictions on who I see winning the women's NCAA finals and the men as well, and some of the top players. Apparently the top of the NBA draft this year is going to be phenomenal. So I'll get some of those ratings, and we can have our own comparison as far as how Tendex sees some of these players and how the scouts see some of these players. Promise.
Oh, no problem, man. And one more thing that shows the value of the Joker. The Nuggets had a 111.4 Tendex rating, and since they lost the Joker, the rating is now down to 103.3.
That's huge.
That's
huge.
That's his value. That's one guy's value to a team. 103. That's barely ahead of Golden State.
And you could argue, I mean, as great as Shea is playing, I mean, they still play pretty well when he's not out there. You could argue as far as Joker's value, when he goes out, they're just not even close to being the same team.
Yeah. Well, Bobby, we were waiting for you to come on before we had this conversation.
Oh boy, okay. All right. What's first? What's
Cleveland Browns. Baker Mayfield said he can't wait to play against your ex-coach. Now that he's over in Atlanta, and people accused him of sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. First and foremost, do you think was anything to that?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we all know it. Well, I guess I've been around, like I said, I've been around watching not just my team, but the whole NFL for multiple years. And we all know that certain people, women, maybe watching more that they hadn't watched before and think things are supposed to go a certain way. And of course, because we all know the NFL practices tend to be closed, so you really don't know what goes on. But it's always been understood to me that the backup doesn't get reps unless the health of the starter is in question. That's the only way the backup would get reps. Or unless there was an older backup or something like that. So it's basically people who were disappointed in the whole way that Shedeur Sanders was not treated like gold coming into the coming into the NFL. He landed in all places, Cleveland. The national perceptions are still out there. But actually, I got to listen to some of the press conferences toward the end with Shedeur, and he said he learned a lot from Kevin Stefanski, actually. Kevin Stefanski put him on the field and kept him on the field because he earned it. And that's how it goes. That's how it has always been. You get your, we know the hierarchy with draft picks and veterans and things like that. And then you play your way up and play out of your status. Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick. He played his way out of his status due to somebody else's injury. That's just, it happens that way sometimes. Brock Purdy, we get, name goes on and on. Russell Wilson didn't need an injury. He just won the quarterback competition after the Seattle had signed that Matt Flynn or whatever that person was. Yeah. Sometimes it just happens that way. But again, I'm speaking on decades of knowledge. And for some people, that doesn't exist.
See, she's talking about the aunties.
So when I come, that's how it's always, and that just doesn't fly with the aunties and uncles, of Shedeur Sanders. And here's and to segue into what happened and what you were mentioning, the great Darrell Ledbetter, also a fellow native or Cleveland graduate, high school graduate, learned his way. Delivered a plain dealer, as a child. He wrote a tweet and said, talking about how Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson failed. That was his words. I didn't agree with that, but I get what he was trying to say. Failed, and then Cleveland had to get 11 other starters after that. So that's basically how this started, with the Baker Mayfield tweet. I think what Darrell Ledbetter was trying to say is that the quest to become a franchise quarterback failed. Ultimately the Browns moved on. So it was a failure of the Browns, not necessarily a failure of Baker, but it didn't read that way in the tweet. And so Baker Mayfield, being Baker Mayfield, said, I got your failure, pal. I said, whoa, what I'm saying? When you say pal, I was like, woo. And then it said, yeah, coach, I can't wait to see you 2 times a year. It was just, like I said, I was just like, wow. I mean, first of all, he responds to D-Led. Then he shoots over to Kevin Stefanski, who wasn't even in the tweet.
Right.
So clearly he still feels some kind of way. And then he says, I was treated like trash by Cleveland. I said, oh, really?
Yeah.
He's the main one who said, there were flaws on both sides. Now he's doing the revisionist history. Oh, okay. I find that really interesting. Someone from the Cleveland radio station, 92.3 The Fan, looked up what he said about how he was treated by Texas Tech when they brought in Mahomes and somebody else. He said he was treated like trash by Texas Tech. So this is Baker's way of putting a chip on his shoulder, because that's how he thrives and survives.
Talk about Kevin Stefanski, 2 points. I think, ironically, Shador, it might have been better off if Kevin Stefanski was still there.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard thing for the aunties and uncles to swallow.
Because you don't know who this new coach is going to be. At least he was playing at the end, right? There was some familiarity.
Yeah,
It's a good moment.
Okay.
This new coach may not want him, or may not think he's good enough. Then what are you going to do?
Right. There will be a quarterback competition between Deshaun Watson and, who is healed.
Right.
And Shador Sanders, perhaps Dylan Gabriel. Due to the Browns draft position and the lack of good quarterbacks in this draft, it's Fernando Mendoza and the Pips. I mean, I don't even know who else can be drafted in the first round.
Yeah.
Dante Moore, who actually was born in Cleveland. I didn't even realize that until a couple weeks ago, but he lived in Detroit. He went to high school in Detroit.
Went to high school here. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that would have been a great story, but he's going back to school. And so, so it's just like everything we thought that was going to happen is just not going to happen. As far as the Browns quarterback situation. And another thing that a lot of people don't realize, Shador Sanders has value because he's cheap. He's like Russell Wilson was playing on the third round quarterback salary.
That's right.
And they built that defense and everything else. He's playing on the fifth round salary. So his cap value, is he that good? No, but his cap value and the fact that he can play in an NFL game and stand in there and thrive makes him valuable, because Deshaun Watson's cap hit is going to be around $70 million.
Wow. So
he'll be on the team.
You think he will be on the team?
Online. Oh, go ahead.
You think Deshaun Watson will be on the team next year?
Yeah, it's a 70 minute. The dead cap will kill you. The dead cap. He'll be on the team. He'll play out his fifth year. And unless Sean McDermott or somebody comes in like that and says he has to go, it would take a name like that. Harbaugh's gone, so that wouldn't do it. It would take Sean McDermott coming in and saying, "I want him gone."
Well, let me just update everybody. We had that's a stunning number to me. 10 NFL coaching positions open, and the Giants hired John Harbaugh. The Falcons brought in Stefanski. Miami hired Jeff Hafley from the Packers. The Titans hired Robert Saleh from San Francisco, and the Baltimore Ravens just hired Jesse Mentor today. Jobs still remaining: Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Arizona, Las Vegas, and Cleveland. So we got 5 down, 5 to go. And you know a lot about the Browns. You know a lot about the Steelers. I think that these are the job I would not want is the Vegas or Arizona job, for sure.
Yeah, the best jobs are gone. The best jobs are gone. So you talk about either like a retread, maybe
still a great job.
Like McCarthy, who's looking for a job, or a young guy for Cleveland, maybe, or like Bobby, maybe they go with the defensive coordinator who's already there.
Yeah, and I think that's the dirty little secret that a lot of people, people are kind of upset that Harbaugh wasn't coming. Once the Miami, that just was a pipe dream. Yeah, we know he's from, his parents honeymooned at a Browns game. He's from Cleveland. His mother went to Shaw High as East Cleveland. We know the story. That was his dream job coming up. But at the same time, he's John Harbaugh, and he wanted total control. And we all know that Andrew Berry is a general manager in Cleveland, very well liked. A lot of people in Cleveland were kind of upset that he didn't lose his job along with Kevin Stefanski. But again, I know my Cleveland people, but I tend to think, again, with a broad perspective about not just the drafts that were not that great. And we all know that Paul DePodesta was really riding the bus on the Deshaun Watson trade. As general manager, he just had to execute it. But that really wasn't his idea, to go get him. It was just go get somebody, because Joe Burrow just made the Super Bowl and we got Lamar in the conference and we played him 6 times and we had a super conference and Baker's not going to cut it. So, but, so that's kind of, how that situation came into play. So, it's just with the Browns coaching search, Jim Schwartz is very highly respected in the building. And so some of the thinking is a young coordinator with a quote unquote, and you have the defense by yourself. I believe, I didn't realize this until they started talking about it. That's how McVay was with Wade Phillips. I thought Wade had just done the Denver. I didn't realize Wade also had a hand in the Rams situation in the early years of McVay. And so that's what they're thinking. If they do get one of these 30-year-old gentlemen, very young people, Jim Schwartz can kind of be the coach of the defense.
Well, I cannot understand why nobody's looking at Brian Flores, why nobody's taking his brother as serious.
He's getting interviews.
A terrific. He's had one interview to my knowledge.
Interview with Baltimore and the Steelers. I just think the legal situation is still hanging.
It's got to be that. That's got to be it.
I think it's still hanging there. He may not get a chance this time. It may not happen.
And actually NFL issues, not just his lawsuit, but John Gruden has very openly said he wants to get back in. He's from just outside of Northeast Ohio. I forget what part, one of the suburbs in the other county.
That's right.
And, of course, he's available, but he hasn't even gotten an interview because maybe of the NFL litigation going on with him. So that's affecting him. I do believe reading that Flores signed a contract extension with Minnesota as well. And so,
if you just again, not get a head coach job, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if he doesn't get a head coach job, he'll go back there with an extension.
Yeah.
If nobody hires him. So he can still leave if he gets a head coach job.
That's right. Yeah, because it's a promotion. That's correct. Yeah. So that's good to know that he's very, again, he's wanted in Minnesota, and so many jobs open that nobody thought would be open, such as Buffalo, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. When the Browns let go Stefanski, those jobs weren't in play. That just wasn't in the plans. It's Arizona too. Of course, Tennessee always had an opening, and the Giants had an opening with Daboll. But I mean, especially the Buffalo situation, that was just like, wow.
Yeah.
That decision was made after the game. He said he made the decision after Sunday's game.
Jenny, what do you
Brian Daboll? Brian Daboll's name has come up, the Giants head coach, but he was there in Buffalo and was credited with really helping turn Josh Allen around at the beginning. So don't be shocked. He left Buffalo on good terms. He left to take the head coaching job with the Giants. So he could be in play, particularly dealing with Josh Allen. That's the whole issue. Can he help him get over that hump? He's got all the talent in the world, but there are moments in games where he misses on throws or he scrambles at the end of the half when he should have just taken a knee and fumbles. It turns into a field goal for Denver, probably the difference in the game. Mm-hmm. Can we take that out of him? Can he get rid of that in him? Daboll may be the fit there. There's going to be a lot of intrigue the next few weeks with these head coaching jobs, and I'm intrigued, Bobby. I want to see what's going to happen in Cleveland, and I'm just really fascinated with the quarterback dynamic there. And just the ownership dynamic. There's just so much stuff going on there with the Browns. Just
Yeah, believe it or not, like I said,
Now,
you know,
I've heard the word dysfunction tossed around. Do you see that?
I didn't say
and
that.
that's too bad. And that's too bad. Last year at the Super Bowl, they tried to, you know, the media on Radio Row tried to go Jameis Winston into saying something back negative about the Browns. And he said no. He said no, actually not. The only thing that he was just disappointed to see the fans booing Deshaun Watson when he got injured. And that was just a little subset of fans. And once it became apparent that he was really, really injured, they, cut it out. People were like, cut it out. But he said no, that organization is just fine. So, this idea that the Browns are dysfunctional, again, that's the function of the national media looking for clicks. They would rather talk about the Browns' dysfunction than Jacksonville winning.
He said it. I didn't say it. He said it.
No, I'm just saying this is the world we live in. The Browns the Browns get attention. Jacksonville doesn't ride like that. Houston doesn't ride like that, that you're not going to get the same kind of attention that you do talking about the Browns. The metrics go up and down. You can see, what happens. Once I found that out, I said, oh, no, why do they always talk about the Browns?
Yeah,
because when they talk about Jacksonville, the numbers go down. They can say a lot of positive things, and it still won't happen, because it's us, and it's like a train wreck. It's almost like the Dallas Cowboys. I haven't really heard from them a lot lately. You hear more about the Browns than the Cowboys.
Yeah, America's team, right? Yeah.
I'm just saying, in terms of this, it's like nothing to really talk about there. But when the Browns, the juice just comes out. But in fairness to the Haslams, that's why they hung in there with Stefanski. That's what they brought stability to that organization. People have signed up again as free agents. People write letters when they leave Cleveland. Oh, I just thank you so much. We always had that with our baseball team, but seeing our football team, be able to retain free agents and say goodbye letters and things like that, and talk about their fun times there, that's great. And so that's a credit to the Haslams to have stop being so trigger happy when it comes to coaches. But it was just time for Kevin Stefanski to go. I think they needed a new voice. The thing, and the owner said, the thing that saved Andrew Berry, he said he's going to have to hit a home run. He said this before the season.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And that draft pick, the draft, he hit a home run and a half. Yeah. Mason Graham, the drafting of him ended up freeing up Myles Garrett to break the sack record.
Yeah. Hey, we just got a couple more minutes. JD, what do you think Pittsburgh's going to do? And put Mike Tomlin's run there into perspective for us. Of course, you got the great book, Tomlin, Soul of a Football Coach, that you have written, and you have the new edition. You have to write another edition to that edition now. But can you sum him up for us and where you think they'll go to close the show? We got about 2 minutes left.
Well, some people think that Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator with the Rams, is on there. I think they've done a virtual interview with him, but they have a scheduled. But they're in the playoffs, so you have to wait. And I think they can interview if they make it to the Super Bowl.
They get a week off.
Interview during that week. And so I've heard his name. A defensive coach, which is what the last three coaches have been when they've hired them. The defensive specialists. They're not going to change from that philosophy. They're not going to become, LA Rams West. Or East. It's not going to happen. They're just going to maintain it. So I would look for his name. I wouldn't be shocked. There's the passing game coordinator, Todd, I can't pronounce his name, Sheehouse, or with the Rams. He's also scheduled to visit with the Steelers. Some people say, well, maybe they'll hire both of them. He'll be the defensive offensive coordinator, and Chris Shula would be the head coach. So we'll see. There's, some people thought Flores was going to get it. He interviewed. Mike McCarthy is interviewed there. So I don't think the Steelers are in a rush. I think they're going to wait till after the playoffs. They may wait a while, before they make their decision. I think they're going to interview all the candidates who fit their philosophy of how they want to play football.
And your final thoughts on Tomlin's legacy in Pittsburgh?
Oh, Tom, yeah, he had a great career. I mean, 19 years, never had a losing season, won a Super Bowl, appeared in 2 Super Bowls. And like I said, I think he'll always be remembered from a legacy standpoint. His name has always been attached to the Rooney Rule. And I think in a sense, I don't see that as a negative. A lot of people say it as a negative, DEI. But I think what it showed was he was maybe the first coach who really exemplified that. This is what the Rooney Rule can be if you give these people opportunity, if you consider them.
Yeah. He's
always going to be that standard bearer, that person that's going to be viewed and associated with the Rooney Rule, back in 2007 when he took the job. So I think that'll always be his legacy. The winningest black NFL head coach in NFL history, and one of only 2 black coaches to win a Super Bowl.
And can't be bound at some point.
Oh yeah, Bill Cowher's in there with 1 Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin will be in there with 1 Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to get out of here. Bobby, it's so good to have you here, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you. Patience, with everything, on the job search and working and everything else, and just trying to keep up. Cleveland is all, like I said, like it or not, we're always in the mix. We're always in the conversation, and so I kind of keep my ear to the street. About everything that's going on, and, to let everybody know from not only a Cleveland quote perspective, but my own perspective, like I said, from years of experience, not letting social media tell me what to think, tell us what to think. That's what I like about us. We have original content. This came from us. Absolutely. We'll cite sources, 10x, but it came from our collective thought.
Hey. And guys, we're here every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Subscribe to us on Sports Fluent. For my great friends Bobby and John, I'm Rickey Hampton. Peace, everybody. Stay warm. Chai.